I'd like to share with you a few tips on how to use the search field that you can find on the product page. So we'll base this on an existing article in our help pages, and I'd like to start with some simple examples and also build up a little bit and show you more complicated queries. So the easiest way to use the search field is to look for a particular license key. So let's suppose, for example, that I want to find, I'm given this license key string, and let's suppose I have hundreds of licenses and I need to find it efficiently. So I'll then paste it here, click like this, and then we find the desired license key. Now let's look at a bit more complicated queries that you can also run to find licenses that satisfy a specific property. So there are a few. So if we go back, let's clear this search field. So as you can see, there are a few properties that we can search for. We have the number of devices, customer, the features. So let's say, for example, that I want to list all licenses where feature 1 is equal to true. And I would type it this way. Or find licenses that are blocked. We can do that too. And we can also look for checks or find licenses, for example, that have the period 30. And then we only get those. Let's look at a bit more advanced example, and that is to search licenses that have been issued after a particular date. So I'll go to the help pages again, and then if we scroll down for the section sorting on created and expires. So the way it works is that you have to provide the date in the following format. And let's see here, so created and expires variables are the ones that we have. So let's say created is greater than a date that we specify. Let's say it's 2024 and 1st of May. So now we find only those licenses that have been issued at that particular date and afterwards. There are a few more queries that you can run. So we've covered the features, nodes. You can also, for example, let's go back again and see, as an example, I have a license key here that's been activated on 2 machines, for example. Let's suppose that I would like to find or filter licenses so that I find those that have been activated. So what you would do, we go to this help page again, scroll down to activate devices, and then just copy the query that we have here. So if the activated machines count is greater than, in this case, we can say it's greater than or equal to 2, then the license will show up as follows. There are a few more queries that you can run. You can run some specific queries. For example, if you'd like to find a license key with a particular machine code string, or where an activation has occurred at a particular date or after a particular date, you can customize that as well. We can maybe look at this query as an example. So in this case, or let's take this query as an example. So let's suppose that I want to find, let's see which machine code this is activated on, test 5. Okay, so let's say that I want to find licenses that have been activated with a machine code test 5. So let's suppose, for example, that you're troubleshooting, your customers provided you the machine ID, but they couldn't find the license key. So in that case, you would run the query as follows, and then you find exactly that license key where that machine code has activated. And you can do it in a similar way. So you can go through, first of all, you can use all the other properties that the license has, and you can also, for example, nodes field, we've covered the block property. You can filter or search based on customer. So for example, if a license is attached to a particular customer, you can also look for licenses that are attached to that customer or have a certain company name, customer.name, for example. Resellers, data objects. So it's quite extensive, and I think it can be quite useful. In particular, for example, if you're working with the dashboard, often. You can also use the same queries, for example, when you're using the API. So there's a similar method that's called get keys on the API end, and you can provide the same type of query there. And then, for example, if you need to automate a workflow or to find, for example, look for particular licenses, you can use the same query format. Now, one more thing I'll mention before we end this tutorial is that you can also use order by field and, for example, order by feature, order by the creation date. I think ordering by creation date descending is usually more useful, so you always have the latest licenses shown on the front page. However, you can customize it in any way you want. So if you'd like to read a bit more about this feature, I would recommend checking out this article on the help pages. And then if you'd like to look into more about the ordering functionality and maybe even customizing which order is going to be applied to your licenses across all products, there's another article called Customize Which Licenses Are Shown First, which you can, if you just search for that for that title, you'll find it. Thank you so much for watching, and please let us know if you have any questions.